I found a super cool old Craftsman push mower with a Honda engine. I've never seen anything like it. It's got a blade brake. It's super cool. Check it out. Here it is. It's an old style Craftsman with a Honda engine. It says that it's called a DLM. And it has the 5.5 horsepower on it. It's got a single lever to adjust the height of everything. And I mean, it's got a blade brake. Yeah, this thing's pretty cool. I'm gonna try to get it going. It's not running right now. It's got a rear wheel drive. I tried to put some newer wheels on it. I don't know if they're engaging right yet though, but I wanted to make sure it had something to roll on if it could. Once it got running, I'll show you why. The wheels that were on it, I now put on this Eager One over here. Look at these things. I don't know what, I mean, I know rubber can rot, but holy cow. Those are bad, and it was both of them. Both sides, totally off. All right, so using a 10 millimeter socket, remove these 3 bolts. The newer ones only have 2. I got a little confused here. I had a little short one on the right side, and a long one. At the angle I was at, I couldn't really see that other one sitting there, but you know, I find it. Give me a second to yank this one out, and then I'll find it. See? Yeah, I got it. There we go. Okay, now just pull this guy off. There's a little breather hose attached in the back. Now I'm using some needle nose pliers. There's some linkage cables there that are in, that one's the throttle cable, and then this one's the choke. Usually you just kind of turn them 90 degrees and pop them out. These little rings that Honda uses or used to use, I guess. I think the newer ones have the regular clips, but with the little tiny holes and I hate these. So I just try to get a screwdriver and kind of get it between them and pry it a little bit. And I keep saying that I'm going to figure out what the trick is, but I don't know. I think I'd rather just hate them with a passion. I just don't know why you wouldn't put easy clips on there that you just need regular pliers or needle nose, and you just grab and pull like all the Briggs and Strattons and all the Kohlers and all the other ones. But Honda's got to be their own, you know. Oh look, I finally got it. Now I'm just using a needle nose to loosen up the fuel line. Pull that guy off. You can see the little red switch there, the fuel was off. And now I'm just taking the fuel that's inside the carburetor, 10 millimeter. Again, just undoing that part at the bottom of the bowl, saving the fuel. I don't know why I save it. Someday I'll do something with it. I will either, yeah, that stuff was gross. Had a funky odor to it. Wasn't pretty. But anyway, I save it just so that it's not pouring all over. And, you know, every now and then you can try to use it to start something if it's not too bad. But this stuff's like orange. You can just tell it's not good. Looks like apple cider. 10 millimeter, again, for the bolt at the bottom of the bowl. Then just use the back of the thing, just crack it and it'll pop it right off. And check this guy out. Look how gross that is. That is some rusty grime. Disgusting. So now I'm taking the little pin out with some needle nose pliers that holds the float. Pull that straight out, pull the float off the top. It still has the needle attached. You can't really see that that was a separate piece, but now I'm pulling out the jet from inside that tube there. Just use kind of a small to medium size slotted screwdriver. Once you can tell that you're all the way out, usually you can just tap it like that with the handle, and the jet will just kind of fall out. But sometimes you have to use a little pick tool and try to. I actually edited out quite a bit of this one because it took me so long to get that stupid thing out. But at the right angle, you tap it, it'll fall out. There it is. Ta-da! So now I'm showing you here that you can't really see through it. The hole is blocked. So I always you can use a guitar string, some kind of wire. If you use the wire just from a twisty tie on a bag of bread, just cut the little plastic part off the end a couple inches back, and then you can, that's a pretty good size. Just go through all those jets, go through each side, ream them out a little bit, just make sure there's nothing obvious in them. And then with all my carburetors, once I have gone through each of the jets and all the little holes that I can find, I will take it to the compressed air, or my air compressor, and I will blow compressed air through each hole, just verifying that everything is out. And then, yeah, even with the bowl and the float and stuff like that, I will usually just blow it all with the compressed air, because that stuff comes out so fast, it's blowing stuff away that you don't even realize is there. Right here, I'm taking a little wire brush to the threads and just the outside that's on that jet. And there, I was just cleaning out the inside of that bowl from all that rusty gunk. And that's the needle that I'm placing into the float after I just wiped them off. And whoops, there went the needle. I'll show you how to set it back on there. Just slides in the little groove. And then if you're at the correct angle, you won't drop it. Just get it down into that hole and then put the pin in there. Easier said than done sometimes. Those little pins, just kind of wipe it off with your fingers there. There's usually not a lot of gunk on that part of it, but just line these up. They usually go through either side, but sometimes the pin itself has been pinched on one end so that it can only go in one way. But just give it a little pressure. Don't go forcing it too much. It'll go. There we go. See? It slid right in there. And now I'm grabbing that bowl and I'm taking some steel wool to it, and I'm moving back out of the camera. So anyway, spent about 5 or 10 minutes doing the steel wool and blowing it out with compressed air, and look at that. Got a lot better. Not perfect, but much better. And now I'm putting the bowl back on, and I'm realizing as I pick up the bolt that there is just a bunch of white crusty stuff on the end of it. So I'm going to take a wire brush to that, because you don't want to take all this time cleaning stuff and then just have more junk get caught up in there. So scraping it off with that wire brush, kind of off to the side. Now it's clean. Throw that back on. And let's go put it back on. So knowing how nasty all that gas was in the carburetor and how long it must have just been sitting, I drained the fuel out of the tank just into a plastic jug. And this is just showing part of that. Just so you know, clean that carb, put some new fuel in it. Now it's time to put the linkage back on. Sorry, my hand's in the way. Some of that stuff, those Hondas, if you're trying to get everything back in there, it's that plate in the front just kind of limits what you can do and how much you can see from a camera's point of view without having a separate camera person kind of getting in there for you. So there goes the throttle linkage right there. And the choke. Okay, so yeah, now they're both on. Now you just have the little return spring one back by the throttle. Just grab some needle nose pliers to get that on there. And then I bent it a little bit once I put it in, just so that it would probably stay better. It was kind of a wide loop. Made me think it was probably going to pop off of there, so just gave it a little pinch. Now I'm putting the fuel line back on there at the bottom. Wiggle that guy on. And now my favorite little clip. I feel like they always go back on way easier than coming off, but still, they're just a pain. A lot of times you can, if you get that screwdriver between them, and ooh, yeah, that kind of was pulling towards there. It was almost like I was loosening by putting it in and just twisting to the left a little bit, and the whole thing kind of started moving. Yeah, there we go. Good to go. Hopefully never have to come off again. This is always the fun part on these Hondas because you've got all that stuff sandwiched back there and you're trying. There's a plate that goes behind the carburetor to the intake there. There's a little gasket goes right behind this front plate. So you've got that big front plate that's attached to everything, and then you've got a gasket right behind it, then the carburetor. All right, I'll just start over. So you've got the air cleaner cover. Go ahead and put your 10mm screws, just the two long ones, through that first, and kind of push your fingers against the heads of the screws or the bolts so that they don't come out. And then just kind of angle them so that they're getting in there each piece. Just try to go nice and slow, nice and calm. And just kind of wiggle. You know, you get them through that first plate, then through the gasket, then through the carb, then through that back plate, and then up into that intake portion. And in the meantime, though, there's this breather hose that you gotta get that's behind that, you know, easier said than done. You can sometimes get it on with a screwdriver or just with your fingers, kind of wedge them back there like that. And then once you get that, that's the last part, and you can keep going forward with those 10mm bolts, a little wiggling, verifying everything is lining up with the left hand. Yeah, patience is a virtue. That was just letting off some steam. And now I'm turning the fuel on there.